Hi, it's Katrina! From giant crabs that eat mammals to fish with enormous pointy teeth, here are 10 of the creepiest looking animals in the world, because not everything can be cute and fluffy. Number 10. Marabou Stork. The Marabou stork is a large wading bird native to sub-Saharan Africa. It's also called the Undertaker bird because from behind it looks like one of those old Victorian morticians, almost like it's wearing a cloak. It has dark wings, a fringe of white around the base of its neck, and a long naked neck with a pink throat sac. It has a large broad bill and kind of reminds you of a vulture. The Marabou stork is a pretty massive bird, standing up to 1.5 meters tall and weighing in at nearly 9 kilograms. Some can be even larger. Their wingspan is one of the largest of any bird at 3.6 meters wide. The marabou's physical ugliness is only exceeded by the nastiness of its diet. If it looks like its face is covered in blood, that's because it is. The reason its head and neck is naked is because, like vultures, it is a carrion feeder. Feathers on its head and neck would only become coated in blood and other foul substances while it fed. Because it evolved to devour and eliminate waste in the ecosystem, it has found a secondary and more constant source of garbage, our human waste. Marabou storks can often be found in landfills and dumps around human settlements. Interestingly, they are also drawn to fires. Whenever there is a grass fire, you will see the marabou flying ahead of the flames, grabbing up any little critter trying to run away. On a nicer note, they are quite romantic, and a pair of marabous will mate for life. They are social animals and like to live in groups, even though they have no voice box and can only clap their beaks at each other. Number 9. The coconut crab. This beast is the coconut crab. Also known as the palm thief or the robber crab, it's the largest land-dwelling crab in the world. It can reach up to 1 meter in length from leg to leg, although some people say just their legs are that long. Of course, that's most likely an exaggeration, but you never know. These big guys can weigh almost 2 kilograms. Native to tropical islands in the Indian Ocean, it feeds mostly on fruit, nuts, seeds, and the soft inner parts of fallen trees. It got its name from its habit of climbing up trees and stealing coconuts. It will crawl out of its burrow, climb the tree, and snip the coconut from the branch using its pincers as scissors. Once it gets the coconut down to the ground, it has no trouble using those same pincers to crack open the coconut shell to get to the goodies inside. Cracking open a coconut shell takes about as much force as cracking open a human skull. How's that for a creepy comparison? The people who live in the islands where the coconut crab flourishes consider it a pest. It breaks into their homes, gets into their garbage, and steals their canned goods, which of course it can open with those pincers. So you don't just want to grab one to get rid of it. Remember when I said that coconut crabs eat mostly fruits and nuts? Well, they're not 100% vegetarian. In fact, a video was recently captured showing a coconut crab attacking and eating a seabird. They've also been seen eating a small mammal or two. So that means the coconut crab is a 3-foot-long monster that hunts and is strong enough to crack open a person's head. No, nothing scary about that at all. Number 8. The Goblin Shark. The goblin shark is a rare species that lives in very deep water. It's the only remaining member of a branch of the shark family tree that dates back to over 125 million years ago, making the goblin shark a living fossil. Usually pale pink in color, this shark can grow up to 13 feet long, although it's suspected that there are larger specimens still out in the water. It has a strange profile with a long, flattened snout shaped a bit like a sword blade and protruding jaws that are studded with sharp, nail-like teeth. It lives at depths of over 300 feet, which means that you're unlikely to encounter it during a casual dive. The goblin shark is a predator, like most sharks, but it mostly consumes crustaceans and other sea life from the ocean floor. It is probably a slow swimmer since its body is flabby and its fins are short and rounded. It lives primarily in the Atlantic Ocean, and since it's such a deep-water creature, it rarely finds its ways into fishing nets. Except for its scary, intense looks, the goblin shark is completely harmless to humans, so don't worry. Number 7. The Lamprey. The lamprey is a parasitic, jawless fish that uses its circular tooth-filled mouth to suck onto its host and hang on. Once it's attached, it rasps a hole in the skin of the animal and drinks the blood and other bodily fluids for nourishment. There are 38 separate species of lampreys, and they live in most temperate areas except for Africa. Currently, lampreys are a significant invasive pest in the Great Lakes of America and Canada. These creatures now infest the riverine systems feeding into the lakes, and once there, they attach to native fish. They have no natural enemies in the Great Lakes, and they've taken to attacking the species that are normally considered to have commercial value either as food or as the subject of sport fishing, like the lake trout. They're currently being held in check by toxins that affect the lamprey's ability to reproduce. These ugly fish have been eaten by humans for centuries, and the Romans considered lamprey a delicacy, so I guess you could say that we're the #1 enemy of the lamprey. You can still get lamprey dishes served to you almost everywhere in Europe. In fact, one of Queen Elizabeth's coronation dishes in 1953, created for her by the Royal Air Force, was made using lampreys. Another fun royal fact, England's King Henry I allegedly died in 1135 from eating too many of them in one sitting. Since these creatures aren't poisonous, the king must have eaten quite a lot to cause himself so much trouble. Number 6. The star-nosed mole. This tiny creature lives in the wet, low-lying areas of North America, where it burrows through mud and soil, feeling its way with its nose. Its nose, meanwhile, is nothing like the normal noses you see on rodents, and you can see why. The nose of the star-nosed mole is surrounded by 22 fleshy miniature tentacles called Elmer's organs, which help it to feel its way through the darkness. It can live in drier areas, but it seems to prefer swampy ground for making its home. The star-nosed mole is about the size of a hamster, with a stumpy tail and long clawed toes. It eats bugs, worms, small mollusks, and tiny fish. The Elmer's organs are more or less the way the creature sees, since its eyes are tiny and its optic nerve is underdeveloped. The arms of the star don't have bones and can't be used to grip anything, but they are extremely sensitive to touch. They can find their prey extremely quickly, catching and eating a worm or a bug in less than a quarter of a second. The star-nosed mole is one of the fastest eaters around. Number 5. The black dragonfish. This remarkably ugly creature lives in the deep ocean where there's little to no light. As a result, they light up on their own to attract their prey. Seeing these creatures, there's nothing else attractive about them. The black dragonfish is a long, skinny creature that has the greatest sexual dimorphism in nature. Females are about 6 inches long with a chin barbel, the long, slender bit hanging from its chin that it uses as a lure, and long, sharp teeth that it uses to hunt other fish. Its head and teeth are extremely large for its body, which adds to its gruesome appearance. Males, meanwhile, have no barbel, no teeth, and a non-functioning gut. They are only about 2 inches long, and their entire existence revolves around being available to fertilize the eggs that the females release. This species is so hard to reach and so little is known that it's not clear what exactly males do for the time in their lives when they're not mating, or how they survive with such a poorly made digestive tract. The female of this species can create its own light using organelles called photophores. These structures create chemical lights, or bioluminescence, under the fish's eyes and down at the tip of the chin barbel. The fish then twitches this illuminated barbel around, and when a curious fish comes in to see what's dancing around and tries to bite the glowing tip of the barbel, it finds itself suddenly speared on the dragonfish's long, sharp teeth. Believe it or not, the juvenile black dragonfish is even uglier than its parents. In its immature form, the black dragonfish boasts eyes that extend out from its body on stalks. These eye stalks slowly retreat as the fish grows, until finally its eyes are inside of its head where they belong. Number 4. The naked mole rat. The naked mole rat is the only cold-blooded mammal in existence. It lives in burrows in the ground throughout eastern Africa, primarily Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia. It's hairless, usually white because of its underground existence, and it has protruding teeth like other rodents. But it's not a mole, and it's not a rat. Naked mole rats are tiny creatures, generally only about 3 to 4 inches long. The weird thing is that they are mammals, but they live like bees and ants, with all the rest serving a big fat queen. This is known as a eusocial society, and it is only one of 2 mammals that live like this. The other one is a different species of mole rat known as the Damaraland mole rat. Like with bees, there is a single queen and 2 or 3 males who reproduce for the colony, and the other animals work to support the royal family. The worker rats are all infertile, leading to a lot of inbreeding within the species. The queen has to fight her way to the top and is not born into the position. Once she makes it there, her body changes and she can grow to around 3 times her size. Their teeth are used for digging, so they protrude far out in front of their mouth. The lips can be sealed behind the teeth to keep dirt from getting into their mouths while they're burrowing. They have comparatively short and skinny legs for the size of their torsos. Apart from being powerfully ugly, the naked mole rat is important because of some of its more unusual traits. It can survive with very low oxygen levels because of its slow metabolism, which has to come in handy when it's burrowing far underground. Scientists are amazed by this animal because it has no pain receptors in its skin and it is remarkably resistant to cancer. It has a very long lifespan for a rodent. One lived as long as 32 years. Number 3. The blobfish. The blobfish lives in the deep waters around New Zealand. It lives in such deep water that it's adapted to pressures that would crush the innards of lesser fish. Their bodies are mostly gelatinous, with a density just slightly lighter than water, which allows them to float right above the seabed. This is good because they have almost no muscle. They aren't hunters so much as living vacuums, just sucking in whatever floats by their mouths. Because they're adapted to pressures that are almost 120 times what we exist in at the surface, blobfish that get caught in fishing nets suffer decompression like a diver. This affects how they look, making them look more like a grumpy old man than a fish. But this is because of the pressure differential. In their own environment, maybe they look and feel amazing. Actually, scientists have reported that they look more like normal fish, although that they're still ugly. They are actually ambassadors for the Ugly Animal Preservation Society, and there is even a book called Ugly Animals, We Can't All Be Pandas by Simon Watt, with a collection of 60 of the world's most ugly and endangered animals. The blobfish is on the front cover. While no one is actively hunting and eating blobfish that I know of, they're still listed as endangered. Number 2. The aye-aye. The aye-aye is considered evil by the local population of Madagascar, who have been killing this poor critter as soon as they see it for centuries. There is absolutely no evidence that aye-ayes pose any threat to humans or to their crops, but the poor thing looks like something out of a nightmare, especially with those creepy eyes. But it's not dangerous, it's just spooky looking. The aye-aye is a variety of lemur that's found only on the island of Madagascar. Its thick fur is multicolored, with the fur on its head and back tipped with white, while the rest of its body is brown or yellow. The aye-aye's body is about 3 feet long, and its tail is even longer. Its teeth are rodent-like and never stop growing, which is not a normal finding in a primate, but the strangest part of its anatomy are its fingers. It has a long, eerie finger like an alien that it uses to tap on tree trunks and branches. The tapping method that it uses for hunting is called percussive predation, and it hears its prey's response by using echolocation like a bat. Its favorite food are bugs and grubs and fruit, all pretty innocent for such a scary-looking thing. Number 1. The anglerfish. Another bioluminescent deep-water fish that's almost too creepy to believe is the anglerfish. Like the dragonfish, the anglerfish has a long appendage with a chemically lighted tip on the end that it uses to lure in the unwary. There are multiple varieties of anglerfish, but they all have the characteristic lure that gives them their name. They are hunters of other fish, and whether their barbels grow from their backs, the tops of their heads, or their noses, they are used as built-in fishing tackle that entice potential prey to try and take a bite. When a fish makes a grab for the lighted tip, it finds itself caught in the strong, fast jaws of the anglerfish. Anglerfish have huge heads with crescent-shaped mouths that are almost too big for the fish that carry them. Their mouths are filled with long fangs that angle inward so that they can hold onto their wriggling prey more easily. Unlike the black dragonfish, which is normally a small animal, there are varieties of anglerfish that can reach up to 3 feet in length and weigh almost 100 pounds. Some subspecies of anglerfish are ambush predators, burying themselves in the sandy bottom until some hapless creature comes along. They then burst out of the sand and grab their prey like trapdoor spiders. Anglerfish exist all around the globe, and they're eaten by humans. People primarily eat their tails, which are said to be similar to lobster in taste and texture. They're commercially fished in North America, and in Japan and Korea, their livers are eaten as a luxury item. So who's the creepy one now? I think we are. Thanks for watching! Which one of these critters creeped you out the most? Let us know in the comments below. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!